This is cord making with a Lucette taught by Debbie Coyle and is now being recorded.
Great. I'm Debbie Coyle in, oh, cool. It spells Coyle, C-O-I-L. It's C-O-Y-L-E, in case you want to know spelling check. Sorry. I'm not used to seeing my words reflected back at me. Anyway, Debbie Coyle in the SCA. I'm Lynette de Sandoval del Valle de los Unicornios. And for those of you who aren't in the SCA, it's a living history group that researches and recreates the Middle Ages. I call it the place I go to get more hobbies, whether I need them or not, because we do a lot of medieval arts and sciences, and I just fell in love with the fiber arts. Somebody mentioned they've had their Lucette since Penzic 3 or something, which is like quite some time ago.
Around 18 or so.
I'm sorry, what?
18 or so.
Yeah. I have a problem with Lucettes. I lose them all the time. I have owned a ton of Lucettes, and my first one I got at an SCA event. I don't know how many years ago.
I think my first one was a Colin Lucette.
Yeah, I lose them all the time, and they get given away and whatnot. A Lucette, in case you're wondering, is something that looks like this. It's got two prongs, and sometimes it has a handle. Sometimes it doesn't have a handle. Sometimes this is my favorite one. A friend found this in England. She was there. She was passing a fiber store, and they had this in the window, and she had to bring it back for me. And then a friend got this in a giveaway bag in a fiber event she went to. She wasn't sure what it was supposed to be, but it certainly looks like it would make a great Lucette. I've also, for Lucettes, taken dinner forks and either bent down the two middle prongs or gotten rid of them altogether. I prefer a Lucette, for beginners at least, where the prongs come out at an angle. It makes your life easier, as you'll find out later. The ones that go straight up are not for beginners, but they're a lot of fun to work with once you've learned more. You'll see that even this one it doesn't bend outwards, but it is a little further out at the top than it is at the bottom. This one, this one sucks because of these. It makes a really bad beginner Lucette. I got some of these at a thrift store, made them for a class, and the not bending out is a big problem on these. This one, since I got these at the dollar store, it breaks off really easily, which is why this is broken instead of bent. And when I tried to bend it out, it just broke off. So I took hot glue, put it on the ends to give us a little stopper, and hot glue here to get rid of the nice sharp edges that came when it broke off. There's something that I found online that suggested a toilet paper roll and paper clips, and I was playing with that this morning, and I still need to do more research. I haven't had a whole lot of success. But one of the things I posted in class was this website, which is a Pinterest site that has some very interesting, I can't even figure this one out, some very interesting possible Lucettes. This one, where they've taken a pill bottle and they've put two crochet hooks on it, is very interesting. This, a stick, is probably the truest medieval period and earlier Lucette that you could find. This is some kind of a weird dinner fork thing here. Sorry, I'm trying to move my my cursor so that it doesn't mess up the picture. Over here, we've got a weaving shuttle. I never thought to do that. This one over here looks like it's a, what's it called? Oh shoot, broomstick lace. But that's not quite the right word for it. But anything that's got two, there, that one's great. Anything that's got two prongs sticking up, especially if they do something at an angle. Here's another one where we've taped or glued something to other things. Here's another one of the broomstick lace looms. This one's really weird. I assume this is some kind of cord that's got like wire, thick wire inside, and they've just made a two-pronged thingy. Anyway, there's a lot of things that you can do. Stop screen sharing. There's a lot of things that you can do to create a Lucette. A little history of Lucette before we get started. Sources disagree whether it goes back to the Vikings or earlier, thank you very much, or whether it's Victorian or whatnot, which I refuse to believe. Every culture, prehistoric culture in the world came up with drop spindles to spin wool. And you're telling me they couldn't come up with the fact that if you take two fingers and play with cord on your two fingers, you could get some kind of bigger and better cord. I know as a kid, I always took rubber bands and played with them on my fingers, took string, played with them, and we all have no cat's cradle. And they've found a lot of things and Viking digs that look like they could have been a Lucette. One of my favorites is the nasal bone of a cow. Use every part of the animal. This will work for my Lucette. And of course, Lucette cord is going to deteriorate. You're not going to find it in many archaeology digs. And if you've made the Lucette out of wood or other perishable items, you're not going to find it there either. So that's pretty much what I've got in the way of history and how to make your own. I'm trying to get this piece of hair out of my way, and the hands are reversed on here. Sorry. Are there any questions? Anything that I've said so far that you have questions about or comments that you want to make?
I don't know if the person who asked about using the big A loom, or let me double check the group because I saw the question come up there and I'm not sure if they're here.
While she's looking that up, somebody said that they had a lume. Is that what you're talking
That's the one.
about? Loome. Could
Yeah.
you spotlight Tina, please?
Sure.
Tina has something called a lume, Loome. And I really love, I'm not seeing her spotlighted, but
She was far down the group. Here we go.
okay.
There you go.
Okay, let me get back to speaker view. Okay. The company is Loome. It's started up a few years ago by a couple women, I think back east, in New England somewhere. And they've got several different shapes. One is very much like this shape. She's got that shape. There's a couple others. They are fabulous. Look up their website, Loome, and take a look at what they have. The looms can be used as looms for weaving. You go from the top to the bottom ridges there. They can also be used for, they give you instructions to use them to make pom-poms, to do weaving on, to use them as a slingshot. and to use, yes, and to use them as a Lucette. Now, Tina, when I'm telling people bring the bottom loop over the top loop and be careful that the top loop doesn't come off, here's what you get to do. Take your top loop and put it in one of the grooves on the top of each prong. Then you bring the bottom loop over, then the top loop comes down onto the prong. They didn't even realize that until I started playing with it at a convention. And I said, wait, look at this miraculous thing it does. I need to buy more of them and have them available at my shop because they are great for beginners. So thank you, Tina, for bringing that up. I definitely recommend, and the link is in chat. By the way, there'll be links and stuff in chat. If you go to the bottom right hand side of chat and you click on more, one of the things, no, click on file, I guess it is. Click on file, it will save chat for you. So you can save all this info. And Lisa, do you go ahead and post this stuff to the event?
We're still having that posting issue, but I will comment on the main pinned post with every link that we put in chat. If we get book references, anything like that, I will go and put it back into the event so they're easy to access.
Thank you very much. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Facebook is having a problem today that you cannot, where's my light here? You cannot post anything in events, which is causing problems for us and a lot of other people. Meanwhile, let's see, are we focused here? We've been talking about Lucette cord making. Here is, it's not gonna focus very well. Here is Lucette cord that I made earlier today. There. Sorry, it's not focusing so well. Tell me when to stop. There. Actually, turn off the light. Let's see if that helps. Turn off the light. That helps. This is the front side of the cord, the side, the back, the side. You can see it's a square cord. There's a cup. Well, I'll talk about that later. It makes a square cord. But here's the one thing about Lucette cord. It unravels really easily. And I've had some people complain that if they make Lucette cord and it frays, it all comes apart. On the other hand, I have somebody that I taught to do Lucette many, many, many years ago. She uses it for everything, and she's never had a problem with the fraying. So part of it is just be careful what kind of materials you use. And I should talk about that real quick here. The description, I believe, said use rat tail cord, which is what Crow uses. And I don't know if you know what rat tail cord is. It's a fairly thick rayon, I think it is, cord. It's shiny, it's slick. It makes really cool Lucette cord and Kumihimo cord. And it's very, very pretty. If you look for rat tail, I believe it's 2 words. You can find it online. You should be able to find it at your local hobby store as well. I use crochet cotton, preferably size 5 or better yet, size 3. You can use size 10 too. The bigger the number of the cord, the thinner the cord is. Think of it as meaning the more wraps you can get in an inch. So 10, you can get more wraps in however they measure it than you can with 3 or 5. Any kind of cord that's smooth and doesn't grab. Wool doesn't work really, really well. You can try it later on when you get better at it, and make sure you use a fairly loose tension. You don't want something that's lumpy, because when you're doing Lucette cord, you're pulling the cord through various different loops as you work. So you want something smooth and hard and non-frayable that's going to make it through those loops. I've used, if you know what the satin ribbon is, it's the satin finish ribbon in 1/4 or 1/8 thickness or width. That works really well, and that's great for teaching kids because it slides really nicely too. So let me go back to showing you the Lucette. I'm using the one without a handle today because it's nice and big and it's nice and visible. Another thing that Lucettes may or may not have is a hole right here. That hole is for you to put the cord through to start it with. It's not necessary to have a hole. It's also not necessary to use the hole if you have one. If you do, just put the cord through there for a little bit. Leave yourself plenty of room, you know, several inches. And then whatever you do, you're going to put your thumb on the cord at the base of the Lucette, and you're going to hold it there. Now we're going to make a figure 8. And if you look, if I can figure out how to position this, you can see the figure 8. What I did was I started underneath, came up under one prong, down through the middle again, up under the next prong, down through the middle, up over the first prong again. And that's my figure 8. Any questions about that? Any confusion yet? Okay. The one rule, or the number one rule on Lucette, is whenever you have 2 loops on one prong, and Tina, this is what I was talking about, the bottom loop comes over the top loop and gets dropped into the center there. Tina, what you can do is you can take this top loop, put it in the groove of the lume, and then just bring this over. Then you're going to want to bring the top loop down. Now I've got this big ugly loop here. What I want to do is pull on my cord, oops, and tighten that down. Right now it doesn't look like much. I'm underneath. I'm going to come up over the prong I didn't use before. Bottom cord. Up. I practiced this a little bit so that my hands didn't get in the way. Bottom cord comes up over the top, and I'm going to tighten it down. And there's a lot of different ways to tighten it down. One is just pulling the cord straight across. Another is to take and put the cord in the back and pull that way. That sometimes gives you more leverage. Now, what you don't want to do is pull really, really, really tight, because as I said, the cord still has to go through some of those loops. And right now, this part of the, well, I didn't get it tight enough. But if you do it wrong, it's going to be so tight you can't do anything more. So I'm going to come up from the back over the prong that I didn't use last time. If you want, you can use your 2 fingers here to hold that cord out of your way and hold it tight. Then you're going to pull the bottom cord up, and you're letting a little ease in here. You're not holding this so tight it won't move, because it's going to need to move a little bit as you're doing this work. And then you tighten this cord. This in the center is going to be your finished cord. However you tighten that or don't tighten that, that's what's going to give you your consistency and your tension on your cord. So I'm going to bring this back up. As I pull this bottom cord, I'm going to tighten that loop a little bit to make sure it's the tension that I want. And I will tell you right now, and another way to tighten it is to hold on to the center here and tighten it. You want to keep this as close to the center as you can, to keep the cord that you're building as close to the center as you can. It's going to make your life easier. I'll tell you right now that the number one difficult problem you're going to have with Lucette cord when you begin is tension. Your job right now is to learn the movements and learn the tension. So again, up over the top, I'm going to pull it up and tighten it. I'm going to tighten it any way I can. So far, it's all going smoothly that way. But sometimes what you have to do to tighten it is to pull on this loop here. And then you can tighten it that way. I've talked a lot. I've shown you a lot of stuff. Does anybody have any questions? Any problems? Is anybody following along with me?
Martha asks, what if you don't have a hole?
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you have a hole or not. You're going to hold it with your thumb, whether there's a hole or not, whether you use the hole or not. I don't know why exactly it's there. One nice thing that it does for you is after you've been working on this for a while, you'll have your cord all hanging through here. One thing you always want to know on your Lucette is where is the front? Because if you suddenly start working from the back, your cord is going to look subtly different. So if you've got your cord through the hole and you've got a lot of it hanging here so that it's not going to pop out accidentally, you know this is the front. The front is the place where the cord goes into the hole. Otherwise, if you don't have a hole, the cord can flop around and suddenly you think the other side is the front. What I do if I don't have a Lucette that's this nice, if I have something like this, I'll make some kind of a mark on it somewhere on the front so that I know that's the front. I had one Lucette that I'm really sorry I lost. It had a unicorn laser carved into it. And I always knew that the unicorn head faced right. That was the front.
That sounds amazing. Pamela asks if you can show how to start again, the very first setup.
Thank you for asking. And in fact, anybody who's following along behind me, go ahead and pull your cord out and start all over again. I'm not going to use the hole this time. Start all over again. Start several times. You have the advantage of being able to go look at the recording after class. But the thing with these kind of classes is you go to the class, you do the start, you learn how to do it, you put it away for several months, you pull it back out, you remember how to do it, you go, that was fun, let's do some more, and now you can't remember how to start it because you only did it once. So to start it, we're going to hold the thread with our thumb at the base of the two prongs. And you're going to go drop it down the center, come up under one prong. I don't care which one you go, left or right, down to the center, up over the other prong, down to the center, back up over the first one, drop the cord down to the center, and I like to hold it in two of my fingers underneath just to keep it from going anywhere. Oh, one really cool thing about working this type of cord on the Lucette is you get to work right off of the ball of cord. You don't have to cut the cord any particular size. You just use it right off the ball. When you've got your cord long enough, cut it, you're done. So we've got our figure eight, and you can see the figure eight if you look down on your Lucette. The first rule is if there's two cords on one prong, the bottom one comes up over the top and it gets dropped into the center. And if you've been playing along at home or if you've been watching me, this is where that curve comes in handy because it helps hold the bottom cord in place while I'm pulling the top cord over it. Because when you do it, the top cord really would like to just sort of come along with you, but that curve helps keep it from doing that. So then you've done that. You've got one cord on each prong. We just did this prong, so now we're going to do this one underneath, over the top, and down through the center again. And then the bottom cord comes up over the second one, and we tighten it down. Yeah, the start is too awkward for some. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Somebody suggests if it's too awkward, what you can do is you can make a slip knot. And the way to make a slip knot is you make a loop. And you can see that the end of my thread is underneath the loop. Now I'm going to come from underneath the loop, grab the thread that isn't the end, pull it up to make another loop. Can you see that there? And I'm going to tighten that, and it's called a slip knot because it does that. It slips to whatever size you want. So I'm going to make my slip knot. What they suggest is you put a slip knot here, go over to this prong like you would, over to this prong. We've got two loops here, one loop here. The bottom loop with the slip knot comes up and over. And I presume we're going to then tighten our slip knot here.
Exactly. You tighten the slip knot next.
Perfect. And then we go our merry way. Who is that posted that? Maggie?
Yep.
See, this is one reason I teach, because I learn stuff. That's a really cool way to start. So did everybody get that, or should I do that again? Okay. If there's not a whole lot of background noise, and if people want to, crochet hook, yes, let me talk about that too. If people want to unmute, if you don't have too much background noise, so that you can comment in real time, that's okay, unless it gets to be a big problem. So who said that? Martha said she's using a crochet hook, because when it comes to pulling a cord over another cord, you really kind of end up having to use your fingernails, which you may or may not have. Or you just may not be able to do it for one reason or another. When you're doing the cord, you can use, let me do it on the other side. You can use something to help you. In this case, what I've got is you get these needles at your local hobby store. They've got a ball on the end, they're plastic, and they've got an eye hole. I use the eye hole to attach it to the arm of my Lucette, and then you can use this to reach in and pull up the cord. Okay, and the nice thing about having it on the tied to the prong is that you just drop it when you're done with it. Come over here, pick it up again, it's right there, and then bring this up and over. I'm doing this left-handed, so it's a little tough for me. Most people recommend, and some people shout, that the only right way to do this is to pull the cord to put your hook in. Whoops, I went the wrong way, didn't I? Put the hook in from the top to the bottom and pull it up that way. But you know, if going this way works for you, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I haven't found that one way works any better for me than the other. On the other hand, I don't do it that way very often. So I don't really have a scholarly opinion. I changed to this Lucette to do it because I found out this morning when I was playing with it, trying to use this trick on this Lucette was impossible because the handle helps keep this from flying all over the place and getting tangled up in my Lucette cord. As Martha said, she uses a crochet hook. You can use a toothpick. You can use anything that's going to help you reach in, grab the cord, bring it up over the top. Does anybody else need to see either one of those starts again? And is everything making sense so far?
So far, so good.
Okay.
For the first time ever, I'm actually making Lucette cord. I've had my fork for a decade and I've taken classes and classes and classes, and thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yay. I love hearing that. It's really pretty simple. Oh, and something I wanted to show you. You put your Lucette cord, you put your Lucette down. You're all done for the day. You're going to pick it up again tomorrow or whatever. And what you don't remember is where to go next. If you look down at your Lucette and you play with the loose cord, you can see which prong you did last. Whoops, doing this backwards and in the mirror. You can see that this came off of that prong. So the next one you're going to do is this prong here.
There's another way too.
Oh, what's the other way?
If you tug on your cord, the knot will slide toward the prong that you're going to next.
You're right. That's a mechanical thing, isn't it?
Yep.
That's a lever and pulley thing. Ah, I never even noticed that, or didn't notice it consciously. Yeah, you see, I'm going to do this prong next. You see how my center knot is sliding over in that direction? Cool. Was that you again, Maggie?
It was.
Thank you. I like learning stuff when I teach. It's one of my favorite things. The other thing to know, when you're done for the day, get a hair tie or something that you can do this with. Because one thing that Lucette cord loves to do is slip off. And the other thing Lucette cord likes to do when it slips off is make teeny, 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 teeny little loops that you need a pin or a needle to get in to enlarge it, or you need really good fingernails to get in and enlarge it so that you can put it back on your Lucette. And of course, by now you don't have a clue which is front and which is back. So if you have something that you can attach to the top of your Lucette, that will keep it from sliding off.
This is a perfect time for a question from Martha. Since you have a bit of cord, don't undo it completely yet.
Oops, I just
She wanted to know how to tie off.
Yes, and that is the thing that I have to do before we leave here today. But there's a couple other things I want to show you first. I've been saying come from the back and wrap around to the front, correct? Back to front, making a figure 8. There's other ways to do this. You can just go straight across. In this case, I came off the front. I'm going to go across the front. I'm then going to, oops, I've gotten it a little tight so it doesn't want to pull. I'm then going to go across the back, come up from the back. I'm then going to go across the front.
Does that give you a different look?
Exactly.
It is a very slightly different structure too. If you're going in a figure 8, you go a little bit flatter, kind of diamond shaped cord in profile, and a true square you have to do loops and laps around.
Yep. And the
But it
loop,
also changes the direction the loop is on the Lucette. So one of the arms pulls better from the back, which is why some people turn their Lucette when they're doing square cord instead of diamond.
yes. And that's one thing that I wanted to cover is some people turn their Lucette, especially if you're doing this front, going straight across. They often turn it just because that way you're always going the same way. The important part to remember is it's not required to turn it. Some people teach that no matter how you do it, you always have to turn it. You'll also notice, though, that going straight across, it doesn't really matter what's the front. It doesn't matter at all. And I'm doing a bad job here with my tension just so that I can do this quickly. It doesn't matter what's front and back when you're doing the across because it's just the same direction you came off last time. You're going to go around this way every time. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what she talked about is having a loop on. The way I do a loop is I do a half hitch by taking and making a loop like this, where my thread comes out underneath the loop I just made. Can you see that there? So I've made a loop. I brought this over here with my finger. I flipped it so that my working end is underneath the loop that I just made. And then I pull this over and do what I normally do. But because I haven't taught myself how to make a half hitch in both directions, this is the only time I really flip my Lucette and then make my half hitch again the same way, bring it up and over, flip it. I take the thread, put my finger there, flip the finger, pointing away from the Lucette, and then it works so much better when you're not showing people. Put the cord on the Lucette, and if I remember correctly, Maggie, this is the one that makes the flatter version.
One of two flat cords. There's a completely different looking flat cord that you get if you don't do the turned version and you do the figure 8 passes.
Yeah, it's
because then you get one that looks like a 3-strand braid on one side and the same structure as you're getting here on the other. So it's kind of a half round.
Now, while I'm here and I've done a terrible job, I will show you how to finish it off. You're going to cut your thread. Let's get rid of this here. Cut your thread. And the next loop that I was going to go through is this one here. So I'm going to put my thread through that loop, take that loop off the prong, and I'm going to pull over here to tighten that loop. Then I'm going to put the cord through the other loop. I'm going to tighten that loop. And what you end up with is the same ending on each end. It starts and, oh, turn off the light. It starts and ends the same way with a little knot and then a single cord that's sticking out from that little knot. You can then do interesting, exciting stuff with the end if you want. You could put the thread through a bead and attach a bead onto the end there. You can, I don't know, I've never thought of any really exciting things to end the Lucette cord with. So Maggie, do you have any ideas for how to end it?
Not really. Usually all I end up doing is once that little tail is there, you can take a needle and weave it back in or you clip it short. It's not really in the way.
Exactly. You can just weave it back in through your cord that you've made, which is not going to be this loose.
Or sew a tassel onto it if you're using it for purse strings.
I'm sorry, what?
Or sew a tassel onto it if you're using it for purse strings.
There we go. That is a marvelous idea. Now, because we still have time left, is everybody following along so far? Are we good?
I'm not sure how well this will show up on camera, but I've actually done the half hitch diamond cord where you're passing through the middle in a figure 8. So this is the one side.
Can we highlight Maggie? There, I can do it. Add spotlight. There we go. Maggie's over here with the purple. Okay.
So this is the braided looking side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not spotlighted yet because I still see your hands.
Oh, well, I've got
I see you.
spotlighted.
Okay. Okay, so I am spotlighted then. I just can't tell. Okay, so that's the braided looking side, and I think I've got it in focus. Now the opposite side of that is actually a different structure altogether.
Yeah.
Because of course, when you're passing through the middle and you're only doing half hitches that are alternating directions, you get a different structure on each face.
Now, do you do your half hitches the same way I do, or do you do them different directions?
I'm doing them in different directions to do this cord. So I'm actually half hitching onto this ear so it comes out the back, and onto the other ear so that it comes out the back.
Whereas
So-
with mine, it
so
comes
under
out the
the
back
back.
and then the front, then the back and then the front.
Correct. And that gives you a cord that's identical on both sides.
Cool.
Now, if you think you didn't tension the previous loop, you can actually pull up on the current loop and tug your cord to the next prong. So I'm holding the cord to the right and tugging the finished cord to the left. So my thread goes right, my cord goes left to tighten the loop that's two back, and then I pick it up and then tighten again to the right.
Yep.
So let's just do that one again. So
You end
if
up finding all different ways that you can pull on the cord to tighten it.
I'm just going to under tighten this one so I can show you what I mean. So that one's under tightened. I go to do this one and I go, whoops, I didn't actually tighten that one enough. You can actually either pull up on the loop and snug it down, or this one's not quite as under tightened. You can get it partway tightened and then pull back on your yarn and the loop will tighten.
Cool.
So you don't actually have to leave a mistake that you notice one loop too late.
Yes.
If it's three or more back, then you're stuck, but not if it's only one loop too late.
And it's not really easily possible to go back, undo your work and redo it because of those loops being too small, etc.
It can be done, but you have to have a good tapestry needle or some other sort of fid and have two of them to pry both loops and ease them back out. It's not fun.
Very, very careful. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to add color to your Lucette work. The most obvious and easiest one is to just have, oh, these colors are too close together. Let me use this one instead. Is to just have two colors on your in your hand at one time. There, you can see those two colors better. And just pretend they were one cord. Wrap them and you've got two colors running through your cord. And that's all well and good, but it makes a nice pattern, but it doesn't give you all that much control of your color. When I first got my Lucette, I was told you can do two color, but I never got a chance to find out how. So I, quote unquote, invented something that many other people have invented too. And what I do is I take two pieces of thread, tie just an overhand knot several inches up from the bottom. Then I hold that with the knot in the middle of my Lucette prongs. This works best if you have your thread wound onto two different bobbins. In this case, one for the yellow and one for the blue. You're going to take the threads and you're going to hold them so that one's wrapped around your thumb, one's wrapped around your index finger. You're going to bring it down below the prongs, bring it up over the prongs on the outside, or no, wait, I'm sorry. Come up to the center, bring them down around the outside. So you're going to hold them separate, bring them off the top, hang them, drape them. And now you're going to twist the cords so that the yellow's on the blue side and the blue's on the yellow side, and you're going to twist again. Now you're going to hold them the same way I held them before, bring them back over the top again. What really helps you at this point, if you've got them on bobbins, is you've got gravity holding everything in place for you. Since I'm just doing this off the ball, I don't have that gravity, so I have to be careful. And the number one rule is, whenever there's two cords, the bottom comes over the top. And since I've got two cords on each prong, the bottom goes over the top twice. Now I've got a mess and I want to tighten it. You tighten the blue one by pulling toward, let me hold the yellow, toward the yellow. You tighten the yellow by pulling toward the blue. And you're going to end up with this nice little knotty thing here in the center. Now we're going to put the cords on the side where they belong and we're going to twist them again. Best is if you always twist in the same direction, and I'll show you why shortly. Now, the easiest way to tighten them, I said the blue goes toward the yellow goes toward the blue. Hold both of them, pull toward the yellow, pull toward the blue. Pull a little more, sometimes at the top helps to make sure you've got it tightened. If you don't get it to your liking, you can pick one up individually. We're going to twist again, once, twice, bring them up through the center, over the top, and we're going to keep working like this. This does several really cool things for us. The first thing it does is it gives us blue on one side of the cord, yellow on the other side of the cord. And if you look at the back, you can start seeing, you see that diagonal of blue there? That's the direction I twisted. That's why you want to always twist the same direction, unless you're going to consistently change directions in a pattern. Always twist to the clockwise ones, counterclockwise ones, or 2 and 2 or whatever. I find I can't remember what I did last time in order to do it the other way this time. Now, here's the really fun part. Here's the important thing to understand. You are making 2 Lucette cords, a blue one and a yellow one. The only reason it's together as one cord is because you twist, which means if I don't twist and I just bring them up over the top again and do the bottom loop over the top loop and tighten it down and do that again, no twist, and bottom over the top again, you can see I'm getting 2 individual cords going off to the side. Now that's really kind of interesting. That gives us several different things. One of which is I can twist now and do my bottom over the top, and tighten it down. And I now have a teeny little hole. Can you see that? Put it against the black there. I have a teeny little hole in the middle of my cord. But wait, there's more. I like this one a whole lot better than the individual one.
Yeah, like a little hole.
Do this twice. Oh, and you can see what's happening to my cord since I don't have it on bobbins, because I twist the same direction every time. it's getting all twisted up. The best idea I ever heard for that is put it in, you know, those aluminum mixing bowls that have the nice smooth flat bottom. You put your yarn in that, and when it gets too tangled up, you spin the bowl in the direction to unspin it, to unspin the twist. It's like, what? I bought a knitting book because of that and something else in it. But I promised you more. So I've done this twice. Now I'm going to ignore the yellow, and I'm just going to do the blue several times. And by doing it several times, I mean put it over the loop from the front, the peg from the front, tighten it down, over the prong from the front, tighten it down, and just do this however many times makes me happy. And then I'm going to twist again and bring them back together. And because I have more cord done in blue than I do in yellow, I am going to get that marvelous of all things, a Picot. And I timed this so the Picot would show up just as I said that, and then I screwed up. I have a Picot here. I have a buttonhole. If you are in the SCA or some other recreation activity, or you make costumes, if you've seen those Renaissance sleeves that have a whole row of teeny tiny little buttons going down the sleeve and some kind of a buttonhole for the other side, or if you've ever buttoned someone in or out of a wedding gown and you've seen that buttonhole tape for the teeny tiny little buttons, here's how you make your own. You keep doing this and you get yourself picots every half inch or every inch or whatever. You don't have to do it in two colors like I did it. I do that because for beginners, it's easier to see it, but you could do this all in the color that you wanted the cord to be in. The other cool thing you can do is, well, first of all, does everybody get that? Does everyone understand what all I just did and said?
Yeah, I do. That's cool.
GIMP. GIMP is your friend. We're now going to do let me share my screen with you real quick. I have a web page. Am I sharing? No. Yes, I am sharing now. I have a web page which is hiding under the header here. Thank you so much for that. Oh, there, I can move the header. Okay. Remote control. Oh, cool. My webpage is Lynette, LYNNETTE.housezachariah.com, HOUSEZACHARIA.com, Lucette, LUCET. Which, by the way, there are two spellings of Lucette. The captions here, like the French spelling, LUCETTE. When you Google Lucette, beware, it's also a French name, French lady's name, so you will get people as well. My instructions here, my favorite website is this one here, which is the first one in my link. And for the longest time, I printed this out for my classes where I wasn't making money for people to use. This is a great site to show you how to get your cord started and how to work on your cord as you go, your cord as you go. Another one, because it's got big pictures, because it's got a huge Lucette, is the second one on my handout. He's also got one for left-handed people. Oh, this is the left-handed one I'm showing you right now. Here's the one for right-handed people. I wasn't aware there was a difference. but there you go. My page also has down here what we just did now, the 2 cords, complete with the little picots there, and the 3 or 4 cord that we're about to do now. Those don't have pictures, but they do walk you through what the cord's going to look like, what you're doing with it. And this one is just text. So I'm going to stop sharing. And a GIMP is a cord that just sort of hangs out and adds decorative value, but doesn't do much for the structure of the cord. Did I describe that well, Maggie?
Yes, and I'm a couple of steps ahead. I just started one.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie the GIMP in with the rest of the cords, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I was doing with my blue and my yellow cord, and I'm going to take the green cord and I'm going to hold it back here out of my way, and I'm going to start my blue and yellow cord, and I'm going to go a time or two. And in this case, you really do have to count and try to make it a specific number each time. So there's 1, and now here's 2. Whoops. And now I've done 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my GIMP that's been hiding back behind where I work, and I'm going to take, well, first of all, I'm going to spread these 2 apart. I'm going to take the GIMP and I'm going to put it down beneath those 2. And then I'm going to twist them. And I'm going to do 2 that way. What the GIMP is going to do is it's going to run down the middle of my cord, first on the top, then on the bottom. It's tied in by diving up or down each time. That's what keeps it from falling out or having these long threads that are going to get caught on something. So I've done 2. Now I'm going to put my cords on top. I'm going to bring the GIMP back up. And again, this works better if you have a bobbin. I'm not set up to do this very well here. And it's going to come up over the top. And we're going to do 2 more. And as you work this, what you're going to see is that you've got green alternating, green dash in the middle alternating, top and bottom, top and bottom.
I've done it in a slightly simpler way. Rather than working the complex 2-thread cord, I'm just doing 4 stitches and flipping the GIMP front to back.
I'm sorry, what?
So I've done 4 wraps. So I've basically worked the prongs twice each, flipped the cord, worked the prongs twice each, flipped the cord. So I'm just doing a GIMP on a standard diamond cord.
Okay, but how do you do your diamond cord without doing the method I was just talking about?
Well, instead of working with 2 strands, I'm working with just the purple, like I was doing when I started.
Oh, wait, here. I'm sorry, you're not spotlighted. Add spotlight.
So,
okay.
Let's see, I believe I've just.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not doing it with the 2 color. You're just adding.
No, I'm not doing 2 color.
Cord.
I'm just doing, and I've actually done it with 2 GIMPs, so that you get, instead of getting a dotted line, you get a 2 color line down the middle of a solid.
And that's the next direction I was going to go. So her point is you can do this on the stuff I showed you before I got into 2 color, or you can do it on the on the 2 color. So you can do 2 color or single color. Let's see, what do I want to do here? And yes, that was the next thing I was going to show you is if you have, hold yours up again. Maggie, hold yours up again. If you have 2 GIMPs and you have one underneath when you have the other one on top and you just change them, then you get a straight line, although it's one color after the other color after the other color. That's where you get into 4 threads. Although both gimps could be the same, and then you just sort of get a dashed line of that color. But now here's the really cool part. So it's a gimp, so what? Isn't that exciting? But think about it. The gimp could have, let me change my camera here. The gimp could have buttons on it. I mean, not buttons. Well, it could have buttons. You could have beads on it. And every time you swapped the gimp from top to bottom, you push down a bead. So now you've got your flat cord or your square cord, whatever, and you've got beads every so often. It could have jump rings, and then the jump rings could have things attached to them like
little charms. That's what I was thinking.
yeah, or little bells, or if you're doing belly dance, little coins or whatever. Adding a gimp gives you so many different options of so many cool things you can do. And doing the 2 cord before we got to the gimp gives you so many options with the little hole in the center, or better yet, the picots. It lets you take the cord and make it be more than, excuse me, just a flat cord. Now it can be whatever, buttonhole cord, or you can then put jump rings through the picots and hang things off that, or tie things to the picots and hang things off that. You can use this for necklace cord.
My little 2-color section, I was just doing 2 wraps of one color and then 2 wraps of the other. What happens though is that when I tightened the purple, it was because I was wrapping the yellow, but it gives a neat little striped band.
Nice. Nice. Now, there's also, if you use the gimp and the other cord or cords of the same weight, you can change and say, you were a gimp, but now you're going to be one of the outside cords or the outside cord. And you can switch colors that way. In her case, the purple's the gimp, the yellow's the outside. But, or is this what you were just saying and I'm repeating you? But you swap and make the purple now is the regular cord and the yellow is now the gimp.
No, what I did here was 2 knots at a time in each color. And so I was doing it with the hitched cord. So it's different on this face and you get a cleaner stripe on this face.
Yeah.
You can get little tiny chevron patterns. You can get other shapes depending on which structure of cord you're working and which order you do things in.
Yeah, and there's several books out there. In fact, let me see. Well, there's at least a couple books out there, I should say. Let me see if I have that on my website. I do not have books on my website. But there is a book out there. Oh, Lucette Research. Okay, here we go. Here is how-to websites, other Lucette techniques, some email groups that probably don't exist anymore. Here are some books. If you can find Lucette Cord Made Easy, which you probably can't, I think it was a vanity press and I think they don't do it anymore. Buy it and let me know. There's a book called The Lucette Book by Daniel Phelps. He has done Lucette for many, many years. He's also a member of the SCA, as many of us are. He works with Spanish Picot. His book is fabulous, and it's got a bunch of different techniques. There is one book here, Lucette Braiding, Variations on a Renaissance. And it's got like a purple cover or a, I forget what the other, or a blue cover. And it looks like this. A word of warning. if you are not a visual learner, this book will frustrate you. I picked up the book, I looked at the pictures, and I said, oh, that's cool, I can do that. But people have come to me in tears because they were trying to follow the written instructions and match them with the pictures. And she has some incontinuities there. The wording doesn't necessarily match the photos. There's wording that doesn't have a photo and vice versa, apparently. Now, she may have a newer edition out. I don't know. But if you aren't a visual learner, take a look at this book before you buy it. Look at somebody else's copy or look at one in a bookstore. It's got some excellent stuff in, and I loved it. Like I said, I looked at the pictures and went, yes, that's cool. I can do that. That'll be wonderful. So those were on my website, the Lynette.houseZachariah.com/Lucette. And you can find some book recommendations and whatnot there.
Here's an even simpler way, if I can figure out how to get this on the camera, is using the contrast color as a passive. So you do the however many white rows you want, and then doing it. Oh, that's much clearer. Whether it's every 4 or 6 rounds, always at the same time, flip the contrast over and then just let it hang. And that way you can also do, let's see, this is just the start of a cord, is you can do with 2 passives. So let's see, there you go, 2 passives, and have one hanging from the front, one hanging from the back, and then you flip them in the center at the same time. So you get that very simple, but especially if you're doing heraldic cords, that's a really nice way to keep the same basic plain Lucette work and then have contrast colors just passively being locked in by the white.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was dealing with something on Facebook. We have Facebook issues on Fiberary today. Could you repeat that again quickly?
Okay. So here you've got
all over again.
There we go. Is the white, that's clear. The white is just your ordinary working, and right. Then the every so many rows, I flip that over, do the same number of rows with the white, flip it back over, and this way you can also do. So yeah, I got it before I can get it again.
What Maggie and I were talking about too.
But you're not actually doing anything with the. Oh, it's there we go, a bit better. Is you have, say, color A hanging in the front, color B in the back, and then after you've done the plain cord so many rows, you flip the 2 passives in down the center and then keep going. You have to watch out for it, because if you're not careful, the one side might be tighter than another, and what you're going for is regular gimp.
Yeah.
And but as I said, you're not doing cords or knots with the other the colors are just passives.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what Maggie and I were both talking about. But a nice clear example in nice clear colors. I'm trying to get you guys to dock up at the top again, and you won't. Okay. Maggie, are you there?
Maggie had to step away. We do have a question from Martha. What do you do when your string breaks?
When your string breaks, you're really kind of screwed. Sorry about that. The problem is that, as I said, the cord goes through several different loops. So unless you can do some kind of a join, like a Russian join or whatever with your thread, to make it not have a knot, or you can make a really, 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 really teeny knot, you really are just stuck. You have to end off the cord at that point. It sucks. And if you're using a ball of cord and suddenly you come to a knot in the ball of cord, that can derail you too. It kind of depends on what your tension is. If you've got a real loose tension, then that's okay. But there's also no real good way to hide that loop. Did that answer your question?
Yep, she says that answered it. She's got about 3 inches for her practice piece.
Oh, okay. And here's the other half of the answer. Your cord broke while you were working on doing the Lucette work, correct? Yes.
Yes.
Here's the problem. You're doing it too tight. Do not pull that tight. If you're pulling tight enough that you're breaking the cord, then you're putting too much tension on it. It's like I said, this is your job right now, is to learn how the tension works. You want it tight enough that it's going to make a nice consistent cord, but you don't want it so tight that you have to really strain to get the cord through the previous loops. So don't pull so tight, don't make your loops so small. And in answer to the question about 4-pronged Lucettes, I own one and I don't have it here with me right now. There's a couple ways of doing that. One is to just do the standard that we were talking about with going, I need to come down here. Camera, what am I doing? Camera, oops.
You're gone.
Sorry.
You're back.
Yeah. Okay. One is just doing the standard one prong, then the other prong, then the other prong, like this. And you do this on these 2 prongs, and then you do it on this 2 prongs. So you do 1 round here, and then your other Lucette here, you're going to do, can you see that? You're going to do a round across this way, across this way, these 2 prongs. And then you'll do these 2 prongs again and these 2 prongs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense, but I'd really like to see it just to see where that cord is going.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about having that handy, and I'm not sure where it is. I have a feeling it's right here near me, but I can't find it right now.
Debbie,
yes.
can I suggest that at some point, probably after February is over, you sit down and make yourself a small video of working with the 4-prong and then just post it to the same YouTube channel?
Yeah, I will do that. But also you can Google 4-prong Lucettes. The other thing that you can do with a 4-prong Lucette, if anybody ever had a spool knitter or a knitting Nancy, which is basically a round spool with 4 or more nails sticking out the top, and you go around and around and you bring the loops up over the thread you're working on. I'll be teaching this later in the week in my knitting loom. Learn how to use a knitting loom. It's the same technique that you use on a knitting Nancy. That's the other thing you can do with a 4-prong Lucette, which means on a knitting Nancy or spool knitter with 4 nails, you can do the same thing I was talking about. Do 1 pass this way, 1 pass this way, 1 pass this way, 1 pass this way. It's really kind of interesting and fun. And I will take Sarah up on that suggestion and do a video for that. But you can Google, you should be able to Google something like 4-prong Lucette and see some stuff out there. People are doing interesting and weird things with it.
There are some videos on YouTube I can grab and post back to the event.
Cool.
I just didn't want to see if we should play them in our class, copyright and all that.
Copyright because we're recording it, and also I don't know the quality of it since I haven't vetted them first, and I don't want to put that out. But she'll put some links, and I'll see if I can't do one of my own. It's kind of fun, but I haven't really gotten into it much. I bought one a couple years ago, haven't played with it too much. So that's way beyond what we were planning on covering in class, but it seemed to go fairly well. I hope I didn't leave anyone in the dust. If I did, if you have any questions and you want to unmute yourself and ask now, or if I missed any questions, oh cool. I missed any questions in the chat, please let me know.
Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you. My friend bought me this a few years back from Penzic, so now I'll be able to use it.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I know it's sad when you get something like that. It's like, and what do I do with it now? And
I tried it once and I got frustrated, so it's been sitting in a shelf. So thank you very much.
Oh, and the other thing before anybody leaves, you have my contact information. You can get me on Facebook or UnicornFiberArts@gmail.com. Let me type that in here. Gmail.com. Did I get that right? If you have problems, if you have questions, I didn't hit enter, did I? Enter. There we go. Feel free to contact me. I love teaching and I haven't gotten too much of it in lately. So if you need, and we can do a one-on-one Zoom session or something, if you have questions or problems, because this can be very frustrating to start. And it's difficult when you're doing distance learning on something like this, because I can't go around the room, see what you're doing, and give you hints about whether you should be tighter or looser or do it this way or that way. So if you want some one-on-one time, if you need some help or any questions, just let me know and we will play. Maybe not so much in February. Maybe after February, but most odd days of the month, I don't have anything scheduled, but we've now got 2 things scheduled for the 27th. So we'll see how that goes.
2? I thought there was 1.
I know, but now there's another one. What happened today on Facebook is it stopped letting everybody in the world enter things in events. So in the class events, we enter, here's the link to get to the class. And we couldn't do that today. People who posted it yesterday, it was okay, but today the post just disappears. So the Reliquary Bags Part 2 class was where we found out that this was a problem, and the link that she posted this morning disappeared. Everything I tried to post disappeared. I finally posted it in several places in the main Fiberary group, but she ended up with just 1 student.
Aww.
So she's agreed to reschedule that for the people who wanted to go, but couldn't find a link to get there this morning. So hopefully this problem will be fixed. It is Facebook wide, so I imagine they're really paying attention to it. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll be able to do things like post the YouTube links to the class events and whatnot going forward. But we're just sort of bouncing along with the tide here.
I've got a cord here that I made when I first got my Lucette.
Mm-hmm. Can we see it?
I got some fancy keys. It was just a little, like a little gift packet that you would get that had the Lucette, a few little bits of instruction, and a bunch of cord. And Rob got it for me when we went to the Getty Museum one time, where they had them. And so I just made this on the way home. Now I'm looking for my Lucette, which I thought I saw just a couple weeks ago. I can't find it, but I found a second shuttle for my inkle loom.
There we go.
3 days from now, I will find the Lucette when I'm looking for something completely different.
Yep. That's pretty much the way it goes, isn't it?
I have a craft puka.
Does anybody have?
Just hide my scissors, and now it's like all kinds of craft things will appear and disappear at his or her will.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Nice.
Does anybody have cord that they made in class today that they want to show us? And Lily, you wanted to say
I had
something?
a question. I've been using number 3. It is so tiny. Am I just pulling it way too tight?
Let's see.
Can you see it?
There.
This is
can't.
the right side.
Well, you've got black cord against your black.
I know.
It looks good from here.
It's so tiny.
Well, it is tiny. I mean, if you saw what I was working on, the cord ended up like about that big. And here's something very important. The thicker the cord you use to make your Lucette cord, the thicker your finished cord will be.
Right.
So if you use the rat tail that Crow uses, you're going to get a much thicker cord.
Yeah.
When you use size 3 or 5 crochet cotton, what you're going to get is something that works really well for drawstrings for bodices or pouches or whatnot. It works for ties, shoelaces, whatnot.
Okay. I was just wondering if it's right or it looks even. I mean, I can't even tell.
As far as I can tell, it looks good. That's the problem. Let's see.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, it looks pretty consistent, but as I said, it's so tiny, I can't tell.
Yeah, I put you on the only spotlight. It looks good. It looks real consistent. I see a couple bumps, but I think that's just the way it's sitting. It looks good. And also, when you're working on the cord and when you finish the cord, if you hold both ends and pull, that'll help straighten things out a little bit. It doesn't fix too many errors.
Right, right.
It will help fix some.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It looks good.
So I'm excited. I mean, I ended up having to use yarn because I could not find any of my crochet thread, but I'm kind of happy that it ended up ripping because then I got to practice the end. And I'm really, 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 really excited that, oh my gosh, I can actually do Lucette cord.
Cool. Yeah, when I first started teaching this, and when I teach it in person, I often have people start the cord, work like a half an inch, rip it out, start the cord, work a half an inch. I am that mean. But yeah, yours looks good.
Thank you.
Just don't pull so tight.
Yeah, I figured that. I mean, I was getting the tension perfect. Oh, it was so nice and tight. And then I was like, yeah, I pulled it too tight. And so I'm looking forward to getting into using the cotton because it'll tolerate a little more manhandling.
Yeah. Well, cool.
I couldn't find my Lucette, but the weaving shuttle idea worked great.
Oh, good.
And
great. Looks good. I like it.
Yeah, the
the tension's a little wrong, but I actually really like working on this straight-sided one because mine has kind of really curved ones, and I have a heck of a time getting it pulled. So this was actually much easier.
Perfect. And you know, everybody has a different preference. Like I say, my favorite to work on is this little guy when I'm working on it just for myself. It's not very long, it's straight-sided, and it's just real easy to work on. Everybody has their preference. I like to start beginners on something that I think is going to make their life easier. But then, you know, go with whatever works for you. And your piece looks wonderful.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to trying some of the variations. I think I'm going to have my woodworker friend make one like your little thing. I took a screenshot of it because it was so cool.
You need a better picture?
Let's there. Okay, thank you.
Oh, and here.
Oh, I've kind of figured that out, that it was.
Yeah. It's let's see.
But that's yeah.
Does that work?
I
don't think that's focused very well, but it's just under 5 inches across. I mean, up and down. And just under 1.5 inches. So
that looks like it would be really easy to use.
Yeah, and it's really just, well, and I like the history of it too. The fact that she was really amazed at the kind of things she found in a fabric store in England versus what you find in fabric stores here. Of course, this was also many years ago.
I missed a great deal of this.
What?
I missed a great deal of this. I'd like to know if you're going to have it on YouTube.
Yes, it will be on YouTube. Oh God, Stacy.
What will I look for?
Stacy,
don't worry, I'll grab the link to our Facebook channel or our YouTube channel for you.
Here's my little cord.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see.
The one that broke.
But it looks good. It's nice and even. It looks good. Cool. And like I said, this job right now is to learn tension. Here's who.
Probably doesn't help I'm using the long yarn.
Here, who? Pamela. Let's see. Hang on, Pamela. Add spotlight.
It's
yeah. It's all grabby, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I had several tension problems.
Yeah, and I know people who use wool and grabby yarns, but they've been doing this for quite some time.
No, this is cotton.
Oh, it is cotton.
This is cotton.
Oh, okay. It just looks very fuzzy. But it looks
like cotton. It's this kind of cotton.
Oh, embroidery.
Embroidery floss.
Okay. And one word of warning, if you're using embroidery floss, you may already all know this. Use DMC or Coates & Clark or some other named brand. There are these packs that you buy of 12 or 24 of these beautiful primary color embroidery floss that comes for like, $2 or something. They're inexpensive because they're cheaply made, and you will be unhappy. Name brand cord like DMC or something. Look at that.
That's
Pretty.
my daughter. That's my daughter-in-law's one.
Pretty. And that's acrylic?
That was acrylic, yeah.
And you can use acrylic yarn. You can use, play around with stuff. See what works for you. But do make sure that you're using quality materials because you're putting a lot of work into this and you want a nice Lucette. Oh, that was funny. Your video is a little weird. So you were holding the Lucette up and then it disappeared from your hand. Um,
Hmm.
Nice, Lucette. And you can find Lucettes online. If you know somebody who does woodworking, they can make you a Lucette. You can find patterns for Lucettes online. I really, really, though, if possible, buy a Lucette in person. And I know right now that's difficult. And if you're not in the SCA, that's difficult. But you'll find they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. And this is fairly big. Is this going to fit your hand okay? Or is it going to be too big for your hand? This is awful dang small. Is this going to be a problem in your hand? This shape, is it going to be comfortable for you or not? If possible, buy your Lucettes in person. If not, see if there's some kind of a return policy in case you get it and you find that you just can't work with it.
I got this one at Hobby Lobby.
Oh, let's see. Who is that? Pretty. Yeah, that's similar
Yeah,
to
it
the
is.
Unicorn one I had with the laser engraving.
Oh, I'd like to
That
see
is
that.
Lovely.
It's lightweight.
Yes.
It's lightweight.
They are very lightweight and amazingly, if it's anything like mine, amazingly sturdy. And
Yeah.
mine never broke or had any kind of chipping problems or anything.
I've been working on this thing for a couple of years.
Cool.
So yeah. More.
And I don't mention Hobby Lobby just because a lot of people have different opinions about Hobby Lobby. Some people won't step inside them.
That's true, yeah.
Some people cannot live without them. They do have an amazing array of stuff.
Yeah. Politics though gets in the way, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that Joann's or Michael's has anything like a Lucette. You could always look.
I haven't seen one at Joann's.
Yeah, I haven't either. But you know, more and more of these kind of crafts are becoming available in kits for kids. Kumihimo.
Hey, oh.
Kumihimo.
Oh yeah, okay. Uh-huh.
Several years. And every time I go to the store, I find something else. And it's like, which is really
Yeah.
cool. Because some of these things are, you know, like lost arts. And seeing them come back as things for kids to work on, I just love.
Yeah, me too. And you know, I found another thing. I don't know if you can see this. It's for knitting, but it works well for your Lucette threads.
Ah,
So
bobbin.
just dangles and yeah.
Yeah.
This is a double bobbin, which I kind of like.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, for the double cord that I was talking about, where you let it hang down and have it hanging off a bobbin, anything that you can use as a bobbin. The cardboards that DMC sells to wrap their embroidery floss on, or just a stick or a piece of dowel.
You're right, yeah.
You know, whatever.
I like this one because it holds so much, you know, and then I crochet my cord, figure crochet my cord so that it's loose. I'm not having to drag a huge long thing around.
That's the other question. So you're making this Lucette cord and you've got yards and yards and yards of Lucette cord that you've made. What do you do about it? So what Terry was saying is she finger crochets it to make it take up less space. You can also get a bobbin and just wind it around a bobbin.
Right.
One thing that's really cool for bobbins, they're called Snap To or Easy Bobs, and they're the plastic bobbins that I have down here. I use them for Kumihimo all the time. They're these bobbins.
Oh, those, yeah.
They snap open.
They're like they used to use for your hair when you were a little girl.
Sort of, yeah. They snap open so you can wind the thread on, and then they snap closed to hold your thread.
Cool.
Yeah, those are real nice.
You advance your thread just by pulling them down. Those work really well for bobbins for your cord. And also, if you buy a big one, you can wrap your finished cord on it too.
You don't think it'd be too thick, huh?
No. With Kumihimo, you have to worry about the weight of your finished cord.
Right, right.
And I won't get into that here. With Lucette, you don't really have to worry about that. All the tensioning is happening up here as you're making your knots. So the weight of the finished cord isn't going to make any difference to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
now I always make my cord a little too tight, probably, but I like it that way. So.
Oh, yeah, and you can wind it around the handle like Lisa there has done. Can you see?
Right.
Also,
yeah, I've done that before.
If you're making cord, let's say you're making cord because you want to use it for necklaces or in the SCA award cord, and you want to just make yards and yards and yards and yards and cut it apart later. Okay. And cut it apart later. Remember
that I haven't tried.
Wraps. So what you're gonna want to do is tie a knot before you're gonna make the cut and after you're gonna make the cut, and then cut it, and then have little.
Oh.
Yeah. You make two knots.
I'll have to try that.
One before where you're gonna
on either side of the cut.
Yeah, on either side of the cut, and then you cut in the middle there. The other thing you could do is you could put glue or fray check or something, but you're going to have to do that anyway. So go ahead and do it ahead of time. It will.
Now that's interesting. I've never even thought about cutting it.
Yeah.
Like clamping a cord. If you're cutting a baby's cord, you got to clamp both sides. And cut.
Exactly. I hadn't thought of it that way, but I love that idea. Yep.
I was going to show some other bobbins. Is you can find these wrong way. There we go. You can find these at I found them at 18th century reenactments. And let's see, there's the blue, the black, and I'm not getting the
I have something like that for my
yeah.
I'm a weaver.
It's a piece of wood.
It's a little bobbins like that.
Yeah.
And
one of those thread winders, right?
Yeah, thread winders for sewing kits. And so here we go. So you can really get a lot on that.
Yeah.
And let's see.
And if you're doing
here's one other.
And that's it's nice being wood like that too. Just
that's much better.
Yeah. A lot prettier.
Yeah. Well, prettier, but at the same time that, they really have enough weight, whereas the plastic ones often don't. And they're not too heavy.
Now, the other thing we talked about a half hitch. The way those bobbins work is that you have to do a half hitch to secure the thread.
Right.
I have to do that with my looms all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're just going to leave it hanging on the table or something, it's okay. But if you want it to hang, you're going to have to do it.
Yeah, if you don't do that, you're in trouble.
The nice thing about the half hitch is if I do a half hitch here and I've got the thread hanging over the top, I'm going to make a loop with, did I do that right? Yeah. The thread coming from my bobbin in front of the working thread. I'm going to put it over here. Nope, I did it wrong. I'm doing it backwards. Sorry. Let me do it this way.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do.
So if I do it right, I get this little loop around my cord here. You see my loop? Here's the cool thing. If I pull it toward the back of the loop, it stays. If I pull it away from the back of the loop, it lengthens my cord. Whoops, it just fell off. But it lengthens
more yarn
without having to untie the knot. So look up half hitch. I've also got some illustrations
now
on my website for my.
Yeah, I use those all the time. Yeah.
Well, I'm just telling everyone. If you're going to use something like
How many people are on here?
What? What?
How many people are on here?
15.
15
How
right
many people
now.
are on the up? 13?
15.
15.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
had
I missed a great deal of it. I was out
There were
taking care of
21.
business, and
21. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
that's why I wanted to know if you had a YouTube on it, because I missed most of it.
It'll take us a few days to get it processed and up on YouTube. And I've got 2 right now that I'm
Okay,
going to
cool.
put this evening. John got them processed, but I couldn't put them up today because I was dealing with Facebook. And then
What other classes are you doing?
what other classes am I teaching? I'm
And
teaching,
then Zoom?
teaching Kumihimo cord making, which is done on a little
Okay,
card.
I know that.
And I'm teaching how to weave on a
Yeah.
on a knitting loom, which here's my sample
If I ask for
of different things you can do with it.
Right.
And I am teaching, I am teaching a really cool knit stitch that I came up with. It uses a couple different techniques and it makes a really kind of cool.
Well, what kind of stitch?
It uses stranding, changing colors, and it uses, what's it called? I need to remember that before the class, but where you pick up one stitch and you don't stitch it for a couple rows.
Mosaic.
Mosaic. Thank you. It uses stranding and mosaic. And it's for people who already know how to knit. But if you know how to do knit and purl, that's all you need. It's not a tough.
I can't knit with a darn.
So that's the other classes I'm doing.
I'll show you what I do.
Crochet
when is the Kumihimo
knit class?
I've lost my phone.
This is what I do most of the time. I'll show you here.
And the Kumihimo class
You
also
see that?
says it's taught by Crow. Pretty, very nice. The
Yeah, big loom.
also says it's being taught by Crow, but he's not going to be up to it.
By Crow.
He's the one who was supposed to teach this class.
Yeah, I know a lot of fiber.
He has pneumonia, so not so much. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yes. And they refused to
I
let
had that
him.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, and he's been ignoring it, so he's been in
Oh
the hospital
gosh.
for 2 days, and they refused to let him out today. So.
Oh.
Yeah. He's not happy.
Yeah.
Knitting Beyond the Basics stitch is the red and green thing I showed you. That's on Monday at 7. The knitting loom is on Wednesday at 7. And the Kumihimo is Friday at 7. And if you go to the Fiberary main page and you click on events, it'll show you each of the events in the order that they're being taught. So you can always see.
I see.
What size rat tail is good? I don't use rat tail, he does, and I don't know that much about it. The one he uses is, I think, about 1/8 of an inch thick, maybe 1/4 of an inch. Probably it's about 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick. And with both crafts, the bigger the cord that you use to make your finished cord, the bigger the finished cord is going to be. So if you use a larger cord, you'll get a larger finished cord. Now, you'll notice there's a difference in size here. I can use a much bigger cord on this one than I can on this one. So that's one of the things you need to think about when you're buying Lucettes or buying cord for your Lucette is the cord that you want to use and the Lucette going to be compatible? That one webpage that I showed you, the guy has a monster. Come on. Where is it? There. Look at that Lucette. It looks like steer horns. And he made it specifically so that he could use rope to demonstrate the movements to make it very easy to see. When I taught this as an in-person class to a large audience, I got a square bar stool and I tied 2 1-inch dowels up and down. And I used rope that was like about that thick to make my cord. I ended up with a Lucette cord that was like about that thick. It was a really cool rope. So you can do it whatever size you want. You could even use sewing thread if you want. However, I'm not sure how sane you would be afterwards. But just make sure that the size of your Lucette is going to be compatible with the size of your cord. And she's got all my class stuff listed in there. Did I get everybody's questions? Okay, well, does anybody have anything else they want to share or ask? If not, I will thank you all for being here. This was really fun. I haven't taught for a while because of everything that's going on, and I really enjoy it. And I'd love to see your projects posted on FiberArts, and or send me a picture or let me know if you have any questions. Contact me if you have any questions or issues, and I would love to help you with it.
I have a quick question.
Thank you, Lisa. I called you Stacy earlier. I can't remember who the Zoom hosts are nowadays. Lisa, thank you so much for your work as a Zoom host and for dealing with all the things in chat and getting all the links and everything up for people. The Zoom hosts are the backbone of this event. We teachers couldn't do much if it was just us. The Zoom hosts have been fabulous, so thank you. And thank all of you who've joined FiberArts. It's been so much fun. Okay.
Just one quick question, Debbie.
Okay. Do you want a quick answer or a long answer?
I just wanted to know if working with the rat tail seems it's really slippery. Doesn't that slip off the loops, or it works fine? It's not too slippery to work with?
With the rat tail, you're probably going to want more of a curve and or something that's not quite as slippery. I've not used it, but Crow uses it and is really, really happy with it.
Okay.
So, and also, like I said, ribbon, the satin finished ribbon, 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch, also slippery. And the nice thing about slippery is it makes it easier to get your tension right and easier to get holes done. So slippery is not a bad thing to start with, as long as you can control it on your Lucette.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's nice to see you, Lee. Instead of just seeing your name.
Rough.
I know.
And the last 2 days, I was not even home for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
It was a big job I'm doing with switching, changing over storage units from one place to another that's smaller, and it was really hard work. It's not done yet.
Yeah.
So, hard things, trying to get rid of things, discovering things. And
I'm glad you were able to come join us today and that you've been able to be part of FiberArts.
Yeah. Yeah, some good classes.
Yeah. It's a great way to spend February in quarantine. So thank you all very, very much. I hope to see you at future classes.
Bye.
Bye.